How do you express surprise in British English? In films, you will see so many times people saying or expressing themselves with a vocal, "Oh my God." But it isn't always the way we express surprise. We have many more advanced expressions and interjections that are brilliant to use, so you won't be feeling repetitive, always using the same words over and over again. Plus, some people out there might not recommend expressing surprise with "oh my God" for religious reasons. So in this lesson, we're going to have some fun with some typical British ways to express surprise. And some of them are actually part of our British DNA, and they're really funny. So let's first of all talk about that "oh my God." Now, some people will text or write the words OMG, and that's basically an abbreviation of "oh my God." So when you see somebody writing OMG, it basically means "oh my God." While I have heard some people over the years say OMG out loud, I don't really recommend saying the letters in spoken English. It doesn't sound that great to me, but if you see it in writing, that's basically what it means. But let's talk about using "oh my God" as an expression of surprise. Now, some of you won't feel comfortable using expressions like "oh my God" or "Jesus Christ" to express surprise. It could be considered by some people to be blasphemy. Blasphemy is basically a way of speaking using using the Lord's name in vain. And it basically shows a lack of respect or reverence concerning a deity. But let's talk culturally about using Jesus Christ and "oh my God." Culturally in the UK, it is quite ingrained in the way we speak to say "oh my God" and "Jesus Christ." There is no link really in the speaker's mind to religion. They're just merely expressing some kind of surprise. And for most people, I would say that really they won't really bat an eyelid at it. They won't be like, "Oh, I can't believe you said that." However, there are some people who may find saying "oh my God" to be offensive. So that's why I've created this video, to give you options. Another expression of surprise that could be offensive to some people because of blasphemy is the expression "Jesus Christ." Often I find Jesus Christ is more for negative reactions or shock. Now, when talking about "oh my God" and "Jesus Christ," there are some softer versions of these phrases. For example, instead of "oh my God," some people will say "oh my goodness." And instead of Jesus or Jesus Christ, they'll say "jeez." I find that Jesus Christ and "jeez" often get used more for shock and negative reactions rather than positive ones. People don't go, "Jesus Christ." It's more "Jesus Christ." Or instead of Christ, in the past, you might hear somebody say "crikey," which has kind of come from Christ to crikey. But this is considered quite old-fashioned in the UK. Now, you may actually hear crikey in Australia, but in the UK, it's seen more as old-fashioned. And for the vast majority of people, saying "oh my goodness" or "geez," well, it's not going to cause any problems whatsoever. But again, maybe you want to be a bit more sensitive, you want to be a bit more careful, and that's why I've created this video. And I will say that a lot of expressions in English, including some on this list, have religious origins. In fact, a lot of words like goodbye come from religion, because what we're going to learn are some expressions that you can use to show surprise. And if you want to learn even more about this lesson, there's a free PDF that you can download in the description below. And please do remember to like and hype the lesson. It helps other people to watch the lesson as well. But hello, you wonderful people. Welcome to English Right Now. My name is British English teacher Roy, and I've been a teacher of English for around 16 years, helping students just like you, talking about culture, like we did just then, slang, idioms, typical expressions like we're going to study in this lesson, and also pronunciation in a modern British RP accent. That's the accent you're listening to right now. So you're going to learn all three of those kind of in this lesson. So let's talk about ways British people may typically express surprise. First up, we have "I didn't see that coming." "I didn't see that coming" basically expresses surprise that you had no idea what that person was going to say. "We're getting married. Wow, I didn't see that coming. That's amazing." In other words, I couldn't have predicted that. Number 2 on this list is "well, I never." Now, this one is possibly a bit more reserved, and I guess it's like a kind of shortened form of saying, "well, I never would have imagined that." It's kind of a more reserved surprise. "I bumped into your neighbour on holiday. Well, I never." "You're joking" is another way you could show surprise. It's like saying, "You're not serious. You're telling me a joke. That can't be real." It could again be for surprise or shock, depending on the tone of voice. "I got the job. You're joking. That's amazing." An alternative to "you're joking" is "you're kidding." Kidding is a more informal way to say joking. "You're kidding. Really? Now let's talk about two that are very strongly linked to British culture and things that you might see on the telly. We've got I can't believe it and I don't believe it. Let's talk about I can't believe it. I can't believe it is often used for surprise, like, wow, I can't believe it. And that's absolutely fine to say. You're getting married? Oh, I can't believe it. That's amazing news. Congratulations. Why is this linked to culture? Well, we've got a popular margarine called I can't believe it's not butter. And basically, it's a butter alternative. And the idea is that it tastes so much like butter that you can't believe it's not butter. Why am I mentioning this cultural point? Well, occasionally, if you say, I can't believe it, you might hear a British person say, what, that it's not butter? But in general, you're going to get away with saying, I can't believe it for surprise. It's more common with surprise. But the next one, well, there is a lot of culture to talk about in this one. I don't believe it. There was a TV show called 1 Foot in the Grave. And there was a character in this called Victor Meldrew. He was kind of this grumpy sort of old man who was constantly complaining. He had a catchphrase which was, I don't believe it. He was famous for saying, I don't believe it. I don't bloody believe it. So much so, it's practically become a cultural reference point. Now, admittedly, to remember the TV show, you'd probably have to be around in your 40s. But if you say, I don't believe it, I don't believe it, positively or negatively, the chances are that somebody will say, all right, Victor, or I don't bloody believe it. They'll probably quote it back at you. So just get ready for the reference point there. He's really famous for saying this, and it is a funny TV show. I would highly recommend you check it out. Now, I don't believe it could be positive or negative, but I'll be honest, in my mind, it's leaning more towards negative reactions, and I think that's because of a TV show. I don't bloody believe it! I really love this TV show. It's brilliant. Seriously is another way we express surprise. I saw your mum at the weekend. Seriously! It's like a way of clarifying that what they've said is real. Is that really true? I got the job. Seriously. Oh, wow. It's like confirming that you're not joking before I get too excited. Another alternative to seriously is really. I'm buying a new house. Really? Oh, I'm so excited. Now, later on, I'm going to talk about tone of voice because with all of these expressions, tone of voice really matters. It's not necessarily the words we're using, but how we use them. There is a distinct difference between seriously and seriously. One that sounds a little bit more American, but I have heard it used in the UK, is no way. No way! It's again this expression of disbelief. No way that's true. That's kind of the idea behind those two words. I got the job. No way. That's amazing. Well done. You what? Is another way of expressing surprise. It sounds a bit rude to say, you what? But it's like asking that person to repeat what they've said, almost like you haven't heard. I'm worrying at this point that only new jobs, new house, and getting married seems to be the only surprise I can think of, but we're having a baby. You what? Oh, that's amazing. Really? Congratulations. True story, we're actually having a baby. I'm really excited. You can let me know your surprise in the comments below if you didn't know already. My wife's gonna I'm gonna be in trouble with my wife for broadcasting that in this lesson. Instead of saying, you what? You could just simply say, what? Now, again, tone really matters. If it's kind of a flat tone, it could sound a bit rude. What? But with a kind of rising tone and a bit more happiness in the voice. What? It could be an expression of surprise. We're having a baby. What? Oh, wow! We sometimes combine quite a few of these together to really express surprise. No list of expressing surprise would be complete without this classic bit of British slang, gobsmacked. Gobsmacked means shocked or surprised. So in slang, your mouth is your gob, and it's the idea of it being like this. But of course, we don't do that. Well, some people may, but I wouldn't. But if somebody says something really surprising, I could say, I'm gobsmacked. Again, could be shocked, could be surprised, depending on the tone of voice. He's leaving his wife. I'm gobsmacked. Another one that sounds like we didn't quite hear the first time is, sorry? Sorry? It's like asking that person to repeat the good news. We've decided to open a cake shop. Sorry? What did you say? Again, we'll talk a bit about intonation a little bit further in the lesson. One that shows a bit of surprise, but depending again on intonation, is goodness me. It's like showing that you couldn't quite comprehend the news that they've just given you. Goodness me, is that for real? Seriously? Again, is that for real is another way you could say Really. I'm going to touch on three that commonly get talked about, but they're a little bit old-fashioned. First of all, we have gosh. Gosh sounds a little bit old-fashioned, maybe a bit too formal, like, oh gosh. It's, again, expressing surprise, disbelief. I'm, not quite sure what's going on. Gosh. But it may sound out of place in a modern conversation, especially in informal settings. Blimey does still get used, but more commonly as two separate words. People say core, like to show genuine excitement, or blimey. But in general, blimey, core, and blimey are becoming a little bit more old-fashioned, especially if you use the two words together. And the etymology of this phrase is interesting as well, because it also comes from religion. It comes from the expression, God blind me that I may see more clearly. Basically, over time, people were saying, God blimey, to express surprise, and over time it became blimey. That's what happens when language evolves. You might be wondering as well why I'm teaching some old-fashioned expressions, but the simple truth is, you've got to know what's more obsolete and what's more current, and Gordon Bennett is also getting a bit more old-fashioned. I love this expression. Gordon Bennett! It's like expressing complete disbelief. But simply put, this one doesn't get used as much as it once did, but I really like it, and I'm going to be sad to see it go. But it is going. And please do remember to like and hype this lesson. And in the comments, let me know your favourite of these to express surprise. I was originally going to do a list of 16 because 16's my lucky number, but seems like I'm getting closer to 25. I always like to give more. And speaking of more, if you want this year to be the year that you really take English seriously, then I have something for you. We're offering a subscription to 3 of our courses, my courses. Pronunciation in a modern British RP accent, slang and idioms, and British culture. All 3 of those, plus there are live sessions, weekly conversation clubs that I attend, and also a weekly Q&A session with me where you can ask your questions. There's a lot more than that going on, but there is a link down below. If this year is the year you're going to take English seriously, then I hope to see you on the courses. But getting back to talking about surprise, I don't know what to say. Basically says that you have no words. Wow, I don't know what to say. That's amazing. I always find it funny that people say, I don't know what to say, but they're saying those words. Anyway, but I don't know what to say basically expresses, again, this sense of surprise and disbelief. Alternatives to this, I'm lost for words, or I'm speechless. Both express this idea that you can't express exactly what you want to say. Now, of course, British people will also use swear words to express surprise. There are varying degrees of swear words in the UK, some worse than others. The F word, that I'm not going to say right now because I don't want YouTube to get angry with me, F me, like, F me, expresses extreme surprise. But be careful where you use that one because some people will take offense to bad language. However, I will say, saying bloody hell, while some people may consider it the mildest of mild swear words, most people generally won't care. Bloody hell is just a very typical British way of expressing surprise. And don't worry about that. I have used that countless times in the workplace in a positive way. I'm getting promoted. Oh, bloody hell, that's amazing. 3 that are a bit more linked to London and the Cockney accent are these. All my days, stone the crows, which I find quite funny, and it seems a bit more humorous than it does serious. But I have heard a shortened form of that with stone me. Again, that one as well is also quite London-based. And another really London-based is Cockney rhyming slang, I can't Adam and Eve it. I can't Adam and Eve it basically means I can't believe it. But all 3 of those, plus the bonus stone me, are more common in London than outside. But if you live in London or you visit London, you may hear those. Although, as I say, stone the crows and I can't Adam and Eve it are possibly used more humorously and less seriously. As a bonus, you may hear somebody said, I didn't have a Scooby. Scooby-Doo, clue, again, which means I didn't have an idea, to express that sense of disbelief. But again, humorous, and it's Cockney rhyming slang, and it's more common in London. But you do hear that one, Scooby, outside London. I quite like it. I think it's because Scooby-Doo is awesome. Going back to less regional and more national ones, we have I knew it. Now this sounds a little bit arrogant, but it's basically saying I had a suspicion. I knew it. Yes. Again, it expresses surprise, but it's getting in on that moment. I'm pregnant. I knew it. I knew it. An alternative to this is like saying, oh, I had a feeling. I had a feeling. It's kind of saying I'd guessed, but I'm still enjoying the moment. I knew it. I had a feeling this was going to happen. Another bonus. Now, we've talked a lot about words and expressions, but honestly, a really common way of showing surprise is just a very sharp intake of breath, like a gasp. We're getting married. We're getting a puppy. Similarly, in that category, I'd say wow and oh. Wow. Oh. Also express surprise without really going into a whole phrase. In terms of slang, one that I really, really like is wowzers. Now, people often use this more ironically, like, oh, wowzers. Like, oh dear, oh no. But again, it's got that idea of surprise and shock and oh dear, what's happening? Oh, wowzers. But you may hear some people use it positively as well. I really like this one. It's kind of an extension of wow. Wowzers, you got the job. Could be a bit cheesy if used positively, if I'm honest. But I really love this expression, especially when I'm being ironic. Oh, wowzers. Yikes is one that I see commonly taught, but I don't really hear it that much in the UK. But you may occasionally hear it for comedic effect. In fact, if I remember rightly, in Scooby-Doo, Shaggy often says, yikes. That was a terrible impression. I'm going to go back to Obi-Wan. One that's also been affected by TV is goodness gracious or goodness gracious me. There was a TV show called Goodness Gracious Me, but a lot of people, it's kind of an exaggerated phrase to show surprise. Goodness gracious me. Like, I can't believe it. Again, that's another TV one, isn't it? But goodness gracious me. It might bring back memories for some people of that TV show, but it does get used, but it's more to exaggerate. So, as I promised, now we're going to talk about the tone of a person's voice, how those words sound. Now, a lot of these, with a sort of lifting, rising tone, a happier tone, then these words are more likely to be genuine surprise. It's like, wow, I can't believe it. British people tend to show happiness through intonation and facial expressions. It's really important to listen to the tone of voice and the way the person looks. Why do I say that? Well, there is a difference between seriously and seriously and seriously. All three of those will show you exactly what the speaker means. Now, seriously shows genuine surprise. Seriously shows a bit more shock. There's a bit of a darker tone to the voice. And a flat tone may not show any enthusiasm whatsoever. Like, oh, seriously? That shows kind of no enthusiasm whatsoever. And of course, if we go even a bit more negative, it could sound quite passive-aggressive. Seriously. Again, in British culture, a lot of it is about tone of voice and the way our faces look. But there you have it, quite a few expressions of surprise in British culture. Remember to practice it using those intonation patterns, rising and happy faces. Maybe smile when you say it to show genuine surprise. You what? No way! I can't believe it you could even have a combination like that. Please do let me know your favorites down in the comments below. And remember, there's that free PDF to download to learn even more. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you were wowed by this lesson, and I'll see you in the next one.